and then it locks the tire up. I didn't get the ABS. This was, like I said, this was a leftover model, so I didn't go for ABS. I would have had to get a 2019 to do that, and I wasn't all about spending an extra $2,000 for ABS, so didn't get that. Anyway, back tire will, it's like the brake has a toggle. It's either all the way or it's nothing. And you know, it's really tough to get moderate brake pressure out of your rear brake stock. So I'm gonna switch to some sintered pads, and I'm gonna switch to I'm thinking about steel braided cable, but we'll see what happens once I do the pads. I'm gonna do the pads first and roll on from there, just because it might not need the steel braided lines. You know, I don't think it's a feel issue as much as it's just not doing much. So I feel like the brake pads are definitely going to be the most helpful in this scenario. Styling, can't hate on it. It's a great looking bike, got to say. Love the fairings, love the cuts in the fairings. I think they're well placed, and there was definitely some thought that went into it. It suffers hard, very hard, for storage space. Let me show you guys. I got the power commander in here and everything. So we got our, these are going to be your wires right here for your indicator and your license plate light and all that goodness back there. So you see I got my tail tidy. That's all I use. That's just the license plate light. That's all that is. And then the original connectors stayed for the OEM turn signals. They kind of look weird and like they're not on there, but I'm telling you, that rubber mount keeps them solid. Power commander for sure, if you guys want to see what I'm running it and where I like it. So this is no map. This is the Power Commander FC, clearly. So this doesn't auto tune, and I set it, and that's what it is. And so that's where I run it. I run it on about 20%. Each one of these little dials right here, each one of these little notches is supposed to be 10%. So I run about 20% rich on the low end. That's just to prevent popping from the exhaust. You know, it's not good. It's hurting your valves. Anytime you hear popping when you're pulling to a stop or when you're engine braking really hard, that's just not a good sign. Mid-range, because that's where all our power is getting made, I put that up to +3, so that's about 30% rich. And then in our high RPM, I kept it right in between the 3 and the 2, so I'm thinking that's about 25% added right there. It has a crap ton, like a actual crap ton of extra wire. Tuck that back. I'm gonna have to get a zip tie for that. But as far as like my hand, very, there's not a lot of space in there. There's really not. I wish I had something to show you guys. Okay, here's a piece of paper. This is just a piece of paper. It's about yay deep. I don't know, half a piece of paper, quarter piece of paper. It's not very deep. In my experience, putting anything larger than about a 12-ounce can of soda is pretty tough. This is really just for like documents and things of that nature. So shut that up. This lock is just, honestly, this is one of my problem areas right here, because I do use this a lot. I do typically put 12-ounce cans of Coke in there, and I'll go to work with one of those in there, so it definitely makes me mad that there's not more space. I could be one of those people who puts a rack on a sport bike, but I'm not that guy. I'm definitely not that guy. What else? Oh, as far as wheelies, this thing doesn't really wheelie that well. However, I'm not a professional wheelie guy, so don't take my opinion on that. It does pop up a lot more in first gear now, just with adding 20% on the power commander. It definitely wants to chirp up. I'm not really the guy who does a whole lot of wheelies anyway. I mean, if I can hook one decent, my front wheel came up 2 inches off 3 inches off the ground for my buddies, so I'll be like, yep, it was a wheelie, and that's the end of that. So not one of those guys, really. It's just hard to do it with this kind of bike. If I had the CBR500R or the double R, it'd be a little bit different, but I'm just not at that point in my life yet. I'm only 23. I've been riding for probably 8 years, better part of 8 years, and been on the road for 4 years now, so definitely a little bit of experience there, but not the most. Definitely not the most. Take everything you've heard with a grain of salt. This is mostly just to give you guys my opinion. Oh, one other thing real fast. This vibrates so bad. Oh goodness, so I have sealant in there to actually keep it. If it zoom in, there we go. Sealant right there and right there on both of the apex corners right here to try to keep it from vibrating, because this just, oh my god, it vibrates so much. In between like 4,000 and 5,000 RPM, you can't handle it. It's like, it's bad. So, but yeah, that's the babe. Almost 1,800 miles, and I would highly recommend this bike. Highly. For a beginner, a woman who is short, because I'm about 6 foot. I'm like 5'11", and this is, it's the easiest bike I've ever sat on to flat foot. No problems in that department. Or if you're just scared of a bigger bike, like that's what happened with me when I went into the dealership, being 100% honest. I looked at that 600 and that 120 horsepower versus the 500 with its measly 52 horsepower. After everything, when it's stock, it's still only 47 horsepower or something like that. And I'm lucky to even be at 52. I'm probably at 51. So it's a big difference. Big difference in insurance. Pay about $100 less a month than I would have if I had the 600. I already pay high. In Florida, I pay $166 a month for full coverage. Definitely opted for Gap with this one. I believe that's about it. Alright. Y'all have a good one. Stay safe.